well, I guess we'll get started and people can trickle in as they come. Let's just start with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for your faithfulness and your goodness. Father, I thank you that we have the opportunity to come together here as teams and learn to grow closer to you. Father, I pray you guide this talk. I pray that you would be glorified through it as we talk about parent relationships and relationships in general, Father. I pray that we would ultimately be seeking to bring you honor and glory. Praise in Jesus' name, amen. All right, so for this talk, we're going to be talking about parental support, what that looks like to work with parents and interact with them. So 4 main points we'll be hitting on today. One would be fostering positive, healthy relationships with parents of our team. Point number 2 is helping parents catch the vision. Number 3 is dealing with conflict along the way. And 4 is application questions. I'll repeat those one more time. Number 1 is going to be fostering positive, healthy relationships with parents. 2, helping parents catch the vision. 3, dealing with conflict along the way. And 4 is going to be some application questions. So if I'm honest with you guys, I've learned more about this topic that we're talking about today in the last year than I have in all the time leading up to that. Mainly through personal experience, things happening on the team, drama and stuff, and also some through teachings and podcasts and things like that. And I'm still learning in this area, as we all should be as leaders, still learning and seeking to live a life worthy of imitating, as we talked about in some past sessions. So, point number 1, fostering positive, healthy relationships with parents of our team. And I put in of our team kind of in parentheses because obviously we want to have positive, healthy relationships with everybody's parents, but we're seeking to be super intentional with the parents of our team, the members on our team. So, question for you guys. What is one of the most important elements in ministry? And there's not necessarily a right answer, so just shout out what you're thinking.
Love and relationship.
Flexibility. Yep. The main one I was looking for is, relationship, which is I said. So, why are relationships in ministry so important? I'm glad you asked. Because through relationships, you can invest into, honestly share with, and hold people accountable. It's through relationships you can invest into, honestly share with, and hold people accountable. Now, a weakness of mine is being relational with people. But praise God, He's blessed me with a wonderful, wonderful wife who's very gifted in this area, and she's helped me to grow a lot with being relational with people. It's been such a blessing in my life. One thing Becca and I enjoy doing and talking about is different types of personalities. I know there's numerous personality tests out there. So many, I don't even know all of them, but the one we talk mainly in terms of is the animal personality test. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Well, actually I should explain why we talk in terms of that one. My wife has worked in HR with hiring people, and this is the one they typically use when in their interviews and stuff with hiring people. So we're the most familiar with that one, so that's why we often talk in terms of that. So basically, if you're not familiar with the test, the way it works is there are 4 different animal types. We have the lion, otter, beaver, and golden retriever. So every person has a combination of 2 of these animals that make up your personality. When you take the test, it puts the animals in order of which you are the strongest in to the weakest in. So for example, I would be a lion otter, and Becca's a golden retriever otter. So golden retriever would be the very relational and the one that values deep friendships. So that's my weakest one, and that happens to be Becca's strongest one. So that being said, just because I know that I'm super weak and poor in relationships and being relational to people, doesn't give me an excuse to be bad at it. I'm involved with ministry, and I'm director of a team. It means I have to be super intentional about being relational to the parents of my team. And if I'm not super intentional about it, I can let a whole session or multiple sessions go by without getting to know the parents of the members of my team any better. So it's something I struggle with, but we have to be super intentional about it. So I want you guys to remember that the parents are more than just people who provide a meal for training camp or bring the kids to practice every week. But parents are the ones we're partnering with to grow their children into Christ-centered leaders. Let me say that one more time. We must remember parents are more than people who provide a meal for training camp or bring kids to practice every week. Parents are the ones we're partnering with to grow their children into Christ-centered leaders. We must remind ourselves we're not trying to take the role as parents of the kids on our team. We're partnering with the parents for the same goal. We're not trying to take their role, we're trying to partner with them as their kids grow into Christ-centered leaders. So this is why relationships and communication is so important. If we're working together with the parents, we must obviously have a relationship with them and be able to communicate honestly with them how we can work together to help their kids grow. For example, we had someone on one of our teams a couple of sessions ago who was in a hard season of their life. They were dealing with issues of self-harm, depression, and a variety of other things like that. As leaders of their team, it was difficult for us to know how to handle that situation. It was very new for me. I didn't exactly know what to do, but it was super helpful that through this whole season of their life, the parents were all in full communication with us through all the ups and downs of the issues they were struggling with. Oftentimes we would get texts or calls before practice saying, hey, just letting you know, this happened earlier today. It means they're probably going to be pretty grumpy or upset at practice because of the conversation we had, things like that. And we have to remind ourselves that when a member on our team is struggling with something as serious as self-harm and their parents don't know about it, we strongly encourage them to tell their parents. One way or another, the parents have to know about it. So by having a positive relationship already formed with the parents, it goes such a long way in working together with them when issues like this example arise. So bottom line is this: positive, healthy relationships with parents may take effort and intentionality. They are key in the discipleship of their youth. This is so important. Bottom line: positive, healthy relationships with parents take effort and intentionality, but they are key in the discipleship of their youth. Leads us to point.
Say that one more time.
Yep. Bottom line: positive, healthy relationships with parents may take effort and intentionality, but they are key in the discipleship of their youth. All right, point number 2, helping parents catch the vision. It's a quote I love by Helen Keller. It goes, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision." The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Having vision is so important. But before we even dive into this point of talking about our vision and helping parents catch the vision, we have to ask ourselves, do we have a vision worth catching? Do we have a vision worth catching? Now, I assume and hope that we do. But before we start talking about how we can have our parents catch this vision, we want to make sure that we have something worth catching. We want to make sure we have our vision, mission accurately portraying what we're hoping to achieve. The things we do in our ministry may be exactly what we're hoping for and what we're aiming for, but our mission and vision statements aren't totally lining up with what we're doing, or they're too abstract to ignite passion in the people that we're working with. So creating a mission and vision statement is totally other talk. We have multiple talks on that. I know Sam had a talk last night about mission and vision statements, and also last year at conference. So if you weren't there at last year's conference, stinks to be you. It's really good stuff. Or if you weren't at the one last night, stinks to be you. If you want to get more on that, I'm sure you can talk to Sam and get you videos or notes of what he had talked about. But having a clear mission and vision statement is so important. And ultimately, when it comes to creating a mission and vision statement, as Christians, our chief end is to bring God glory. It's the glory of God. So if our vision and mission are not ultimately, if that's not intertwined in our mission and vision statement, glory of God, then I think it's time we have to go back to the drawing board and revisit our vision and mission. We must continually be seeking to bring God glory in the things that we do. So that's so important. So what do we mean when we say we want the parents to catch the vision? What do we mean by that? We know that our ministry could be a weekly event. Parents could just drop their kids off and go run some errands, or a place where they can ditch the kids for a night and go sit at home, watch Netflix, their favorite TV show, whatnot. But we believe what we are doing is more than just a social hour for their kids. We're seeking to train up youth to own their faith, grow in their faith, and share their faith. I want to repeat that. It's so important. We believe what we're doing is more than a social hour for their kids. We're seeking to train up youth to own their faith, to grow in their faith, and to share their faith. Now, the way we help parents catch the vision, what we're doing, one way I should say, is by telling them. And often, not just telling them, but being excited and passionate about our heart behind the vision. So you go to a meeting with parents. Yeah, so we have a lot of outreaches this session, and it's going to be a sweet session, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to share the gospel. We love working with your kids. It's just a blast. Yeah, we love it. It's so much fun. No, we want to be excited. We're super stoked about all the outreaches we have for this session. We're excited about working with your teens and sharing the gospel. Now, I'm not saying that you should be putting on a fake front, being like always like, whoa, yeah, we're doing this. We want to be real with them, but we still want to be passionate and excited about what we're doing. So, if they have not caught the vision that you're trying to cast, they're not the only ones at fault. We have to remind ourselves that we are partially responsible for not leading them to catch that vision. I love what Craig Rochelle talks about this. He calls it the forbidden phrase. Oftentimes we use this forbidden phrase. Forbidden phrase goes like this. Our people don't blank. Our team won't blank. Our ministry can't blank. Or his mom always blanks. These are all negative phrases that shift the blame from us to somebody else. And if you think about it, we've been doing this since we were little kids. You know, if you're fighting in the living room, mom comes in and says, hey, what's going on? And go, oh, you started it. It wasn't my fault. Or, oftentimes I've shifted blame when I was younger, and we still do this as adults. But we are leaders, and we should be above that. We should take responsibility and replace the forbidden phrase with phrases such as this. I have not led our members to blank. I have not empowered them to blank. I've not led our team to be passionate about giving a Bible study. Or I've not led them by communicating to the parents the commitment required for our ministry. It goes from our people don't, our team won't, to I have not led them to. Such an important phrase to remember when it deals with shifting blame. So I don't want you guys to miss this. When we approach the topic, parents lacking our vision, we must remind ourselves we are the ones to lead them to catch our vision. I'll say that one more time. When we approach the topic of parents lacking our vision, we must remind ourselves we are the ones to lead them to catch our vision. One way we do this in drama is by what we call parent meetings before every session. So directors lead these meetings, and it's just the parents that attend, no members, just the parents. During these meetings, we talk about everything from our vision, casting vision, to outreach dates, to allowing parents to voice their concerns or questions they have. These meetings are so important to us that we require at least one of the parents of each current member to attend every single session. We value these meetings so much, and we think it's so important. And also, these parent meetings just help us to stay connected with them, and it helps in that relational side as well. So, there will be times in your ministry when you have parents complaining about this issue in your ministry, and then people on the other side complaining about the same thing from the opposite end, kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum. And sometimes it feels like you just can't win. For an example, typically before every session starts in drama, we have what we call pre-booked outreaches, usually 3 to 4 or so a session. We like to have those planned before the members commit to the session. And last fall, we had fewer than normal, might have been 1 or 2, I believe. So during the session, we were trying to plan more, so we can have our 3 or 4 outreaches for the session. The one mom number 1 was complaining that we don't have nearly enough outreaches, and presenting and doing performances, as she called them, were why her kids were in the ministry. And then mom number 2 over here was complaining that planning outreaches during the session was so stressful, and just frustrated that there's too much going on in their life right now, they can't handle more outreaches. on top of what they're already doing, on top of the 1 or 2. So what do you do with that? You have 2 parents complaining about the same thing, but from opposite sides. Firstly, we had to carefully and respectfully guide them to learning the magic word in ministry. What is the magic word in ministry? Flexibility. Exactly. That was the first thing we had to do, that oftentimes ministry, you have to be flexible. Secondly, we had to remind both mom number 1 and mom number 2 of our vision. We had to remind mom number 1 that our goal was not to see how many outreaches we can shove into the session. We're not a performance-based ministry. We care first and foremost about discipleship and about investing into the kids for their growth. For mom number 2, we had to remind her that by being involved in a ministry, in discipleship ministry, it isn't always as simple and straightforward as we would like. Things are messy sometimes, and we have to be flexible along the way. So, bottom line is this: we must refuse to pass blame when parents haven't caught our vision. We are above pointing the finger. Let me say that one more time. We must refuse to pass blame when parents haven't caught our vision. We are above pointing the finger. And pointing finger, I mean this finger, not any of the other ones. Just to clarify. Okay, point number 3. Dealing with conflict along the way. So anytime you work with people in almost any context, no matter what it is, conflict is bound to arise. The question is, how are we going to deal with it? So we're going to do a group exercise. I'm going to have you guys split up into maybe 3 different groups. We'll try 3 different groups, and then I'll explain how it's going to work. So try to get with other teams and not just have it be your own team. So you guys can split up in this room. You have 3 different groups. All right, so in your groups, we're talking about conflict here. So each of your groups are a leadership team, core leadership team on your team. So you're going to have to answer and reply to this conflict that has arose in your ministry. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and you guys will have maybe 5 or so minutes to talk about it in your team, and then say how you respond to it. So I'm going to give you guys the same scenario, and then you're all going to share, and we'll see differences and similarities and things like that. So scenario number 1. This is how you have to figure out how you're going to respond. So parents keep their kid home from a required outreach without asking because the kid didn't finish their school that day. So parents keep kid home from an outreach that was required because they didn't finish their school. And the parents need to communicate that with you before the outreach. So talk amongst your group. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll give you guys about 5-10 minutes. So you guys can stay where you are in your group as long as you can see everybody. We'll just go group by group, kind of share your main thought or the big way you'll respond to this issue, this incident. Let's start with this side and we'll just work our way around. So how are you guys going to respond to that?
We had knocked out, and then she comes up just first being humble, even maybe just taking time and go and pray to God and asking for the right attitude and just being humble, and to come to them humbly and then to explain to them, hey, this was a commitment that you and your team made, and it's not fair to the other team members who have practiced with them, and it was a commitment that was broken, and we don't want an outreach to be a punishment for your team, this support team. They didn't do school, because we want this to be a good place for your team, and we want to be a tool for your team, and we don't want to be blunted. We want to be healthy for your team and you.
That's really good. How about the group in the back?
Kick them coming to get back together.
Solid.
What's that?
We wanted to start with going to the parent one-on-one and, hey, you need to let us know next time. Like, you really put us in a tight spot. Can you give us a little warning next time before something happens? Like, that would be our bare minimum response. Help me out here a little bit.
And I like just this idea about maybe possibly working with the parents somehow to say, is this really a problem? Do we need to support you in this way? make it into a discipleship thing.
And also, they talk about helping them see the vision for an outreach, whereas if they're not letting their child come to this, then it's, making it harder for their teen to present the gospel, then you're keeping them from the opportunity to present the gospel, and maybe it's just not the best punishment, or, help them get the vision for what an outreach actually means, and it's not just a fun thing that we do as a reward for your kid, it's a ministry opportunity, and sharing the gospel is really important. It's not just a fun activity that we do for fun.
Yeah, that's really good. And how about this group up front?
Mr. Brown said probably maybe you should include that in your parent meeting talk. Don't use us as a punishment for your kid. Don't keep them from stuff because you're affecting the whole team. Let's see. Christy said if they didn't tell you, that the kid wasn't showing up, they didn't communicate, that's kind of telling about your relationship with them. So you can make sure that relationship is good. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, because if the parents trust you, they will say everything of what's happening at home. So you really need to get the trust of the parents as well.
Yeah.
And then just after the fact, to talk to them. First, come with a bunch of questions like, okay, let's hear their side. What actually happened? What were you thinking? So just so that you get a better perspective of what's going on, and then communicate to them a lot of what they said. But it's, hey, when you punished your child, you punished our whole team, and this affects more than just them. And we'd love to work with you, Jessica brought that. We'd love to work with you if this is a problem the kid is having. We want to partner with you in that, but help them see kind of the effect that it had, not just on their child, but everybody else.
Something I was just going to add is, as I was listening to everybody, I was thinking, this is kind of an opportunity for you to cast a vision, with that parent, or maybe even have a discipleship opportunity to them of helping them see, how can you help your child have the right priorities and stuff, that they are committed to the right things and they show up for the right things, the priority of the gospel over homework. No, homework's still important, but, how can we find appropriate consequences without sacrificing what are our greatest values and things like that, and then supporting them in that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I was just going to add something, and that was, and this along the lines of what Mr. Brown said, is that drama used to, back in the day when we first would have a new member parent meeting. We probably still do this, I don't know, because I've been in one for a while. But the new member parent meeting, we used to spell it out that what we're asking you to do is to commit to these things. And by doing so, you're saying that you will not use missing a drama practice or outreach as a punishment. That was part of what we communicated, that you're if you commit to this, you're saying you're not allowed to use that as a punishment. And that way, that puts the onus completely on them. They have to knowingly and blatantly break the commitment to do something like that.
Yeah.
The second thing I was going to say is, I remember talking about this with Tim multiple times, was that most parents that we're dealing with are coming from Christian background or are Christians. And so if you can communicate in humility that they broke the commitment, that's going to go a long way with most of them. Because breaking the commitment, if you can get them to see that that's what they've done, that's going to be enough for them to be sorry. Not in a genuine way, and realize, they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That takes tact, it takes grace, it takes humility. It's difficult to do, but if you can communicate that to them, you can want in almost every situation.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, yeah, those are super solid answers. We're going to do one more scenario, and then we'll keep rolling. Okay, so scenario number 2. You guys are going to talk about this in your group. So kid number 1 on the team is sharing with another kid how they're struggling with self-harm. No one else knows, and the one they're sharing with is a younger, newer member. So newer member goes home after that accountability time. They go home, tell their parents about it because they are confused. They don't know what that's all about. And they tell their parents. Parents call you and they're upset because obviously they didn't think their kid needed to know about that early. So they find out about self-harm, go home, tell their parents. Parents call you because they're upset. How do you respond on the phone to an angry parent like that?
So the older kid that heard about it goes home.
Well, it's an older member in your ministry who's dealing with self-harm tells a younger member.
Hears about it.
Who hears about it and then
tells his parents.
Exactly. Any questions with that one? All right, I'll give you guys.
You say that
The directors did not know about anything.
Correct. They only found out when they got the call. So I'll give you guys 5-10 minutes to talk about that one. All right, let's start with the group over here. How are you guys gonna respond?
We talked about responding, like being very careful in how you talk to the person. It really depends on if they're like boiling angry or if they're just like a steam angry. Because if they're boiling angry, you want to kind of just be like, okay, well, let's apologize for it because you didn't want this to happen. And then maybe just talk to them later and then kind of cool down because that's not a good time to resolve the issue. But if they're not, if they're just kind of upset about it, just explain to them, like trying to relate to them and trying to understand what they are going through, but encouraging them, showing them how this can be a good opportunity for that child to grow, even if this wasn't the ideal situation for them. Encouraging them to like help the child support the other child.
That's good. Group in the back.
Same response as last time, kick them out when they get their act together.
It's a standard response.
It's a good one, it works.
I wrote a couple things down. We started with apologizing, saying we didn't intend. And then especially just letting them talk all the way through, let them say everything. Number one, it helps us process ourselves because we're getting blasted with facts or anger, and our first reaction is to go back and, but if we just let them finish all their, sometimes to calm it down, we can hear what's real. And then as far as the team is concerned, we might switch out people the next time, or maybe one of the directors can sit in with that.
Making it clear too that we're willing to work with you and work alongside you, and we intend for this to happen, but maybe we can help you kid work through this, or if there's anything we can do to help. Just making it clear that we're not, we didn't cause this. This was not intention. We can work with you.
Also, just kind of reassurance of, and we will help this other kid also, like, let your kid lead, we'll take it from here, kind of, they aren't responsible to help them walk through self-harm, so, we'll step in here. Reassure the parent and their fear.
How about the group in the front?
I think some similar things of like making sure, just like conflict resolution tactics of like not being too dismissive of like defensive too quick or dismissing like, oh, you're overreacting kind of a thing, but to listen and to validate that, yes, that was not our intention. We didn't know, we weren't aware of this situation. I apologize for the way that it came out, and I understand why that's frustrating and that's difficult. So I'm sorry, I understand. How can I help you? Those kinds of things are just part of conflict resolution. But then also, again, we came back to like at the parent meeting, it would be good to let them know like these things can happen because we're working with real people, relationships are messy, and we want to take on real issues. So if these things are present, they may come up, and they may come up at times that we don't anticipate, we don't plan. So for your, if you have a younger member, just giving them that heads up before the session even starts that these things could happen, and And if that's a problem, discussing with them if it's an appropriate time, if their kid is old enough to be on the team, but also letting them know that you'll be supporting them, that if these things come up, and same with an immediate situation, when you're talking to them, reminding them of the opportunity now to help their kid process this information in a healthy way and learn how to respond Christ-like to these kinds of struggles, and that we'll be walking with them.
And right along with that was, ultimately we want to communicate to the younger kid's parent, the one that's mad at you. Your kid lives in the real world, and he's going to be exposed to this at some point. And we'd love to help you work through this, and I know you didn't want him to be exposed to this, but you're not in control of everything. I know that's really mean.
Sounds mean.
Finding a way to say it. But honestly, most of the time we're angry because we've just realized how much we're not in control. And we felt unprepared to deal with that situation. I wanted to be prepared to educate my child on it, and it came too soon. So going, I understand that. The time is now. And we don't always get to decide when that time comes. Today, we didn't get to decide. Now we have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's really good. Cool. Well, thank you guys for discussing amongst yourselves. You guys can get comfortable again. If you aren't comfortable already. So yeah, this is kind of repeating some of the things you guys had already said in your groups. But yeah, we have to remember that sometimes we may be in the wrong when it comes to conflict. It's easy to point the finger, shift blame, and even complain to our leadership team about how the parents are acting, things like that. But we oftentimes neglect to look internally first and see if there's something that we did or did not do that caused this issue or situation to arise. So for example, along that looking internally, recently Drama's been renovating our office, which we talked about earlier. So we're painting the walls, redoing the floor, different stuff like that. And part of the flooring was going to be a vinyl floor. It's like a darker color, and that had to be installed before we were finished painting. So we knew there was a good chance that we were going to get paint on the floor, even if, we're going to spread drop cloths and be as careful as we can, but we knew there was a chance for that. And at the end of the first painting day, we tracked so much paint on the floor, it was kind of sad and depressing. But yeah, we kept on tracking paint, and I personally tried to be so careful not to track any paint on the floor. I wanted to be the careful one. And oftentimes when it was called out, someone's tracking paint on the floor, check their shoes. Oftentimes before I even checked my shoes, I would call out, "Oh, it's not me," because I thought I was that careful. But as hard as I tried to not track paint on the floor, I still did at times. So in conflict with parents, we tend to think that we are so much in the right that we don't self-examine ourselves. We couldn't possibly be the ones tracking paint across the new floor. We couldn't be the ones irresponsible for how we plan an event, or we aren't to blame for forgetting to remind a member of an outreach. Before we point the finger and shift blame, we must first examine ourselves, our actions, and our heart. Let me say that again. Before we point the finger and shift blame, we must first examine ourselves, our actions, and our heart. I really like this quote from Warren Bennis. It goes, "Leaders do not avoid, repress, or deny conflict, but rather see it as an opportunity." Leaders do not avoid, repress, or deny conflict, but rather see it as an opportunity. So why do we see conflict as an opportunity? Because it's through conflict that we can grow personally, grow closer to the other person involved, and grow in our understanding of how to relate to people better. Bottom line is this. With conflict comes the potential for growth. With conflict comes the potential for growth. Now, ultimately, sometimes parents are just unreasonable or unforgiving and don't even try to work with you. In instances like those, you do all you can to make things right with them and pray that God will give you the grace to respond in a Christ-like way. Sometimes, you can't resolve things, but you do all you can and pray that God will give you grace. So, we're going to review some of the big thoughts that we talked about, and then we're going to jump into some application questions. So, point number 1 was fostering positive, healthy relationships with parents. We talked about how positive, healthy relationships with parents may take effort and intentionality, but they are key in the discipleship of their youth. Another important thought for that point was parents are more than just people who provide a meal for training camp or bring the kids to practice every week. Parents are the ones we're partnering with to grow their children into Christ-centered leaders. Point number 2, helping parents catch the vision. We believe what we're doing is more than a social hour for their kids. We're seeking to train up youth to own their faith, grow in their faith, and share their faith. We must stop using the forbidden phrase, our people don't, our team won't, our parents never. As leaders, we take responsibility and replace the forbidden phrase with phrases like, I have not led my team to, blank. Taking responsibility. Point number 3, dealing with conflict along the way. Conflict is bound to arise. The question is, how will you deal with it? And the quote from Warren Bennis, leaders do not avoid, repress, or deny conflict, but see it as an opportunity. And with conflict comes the potential for growth. So, all that being said, that leads us to point number 4, is the application questions. This is where the rubber meets the road. Question number 1, what is one way you should improve relationships with parents of your team? What is one way you should improve relationships with parents of your team? And question number 2, what are 3 steps you will take to achieve that? What are 3 steps you will take to achieve that? Now, this is so important. You have to be super specific because we can't change what we cannot define. So we have to make sure we're giving concrete answers here. What is one way you should improve relationships with parents of your team? And what are 3 steps you will take to achieve that?
Sorry, can you do that?
What is one way you should improve relationships with parents of your team? And what are 3 steps you will take to achieve that? You guys got those last 2 questions written down? Cool. All right, we have a couple minutes here for question and answer time. Just a few minutes. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
That conflict, point number 3 or whatever it was, about resolving conflict. I think it's important to be discerning. Every conflict doesn't have to be resolved. I mean, probably the majority are rather minor, and they're probably not worth, or it does more harm than good, I think, if you're not careful. Now, certainly, it's obvious when something has to be dealt with, but there oftentimes, I think people feel they have to resolve every word that came out. And you just have to be a bit discerning. I think you'll find that in the Peacemaker from Kansas City. He'll talk about that too. That probably 90% of the time you need to just probably decide just leave it alone. There are certainly serious ones that you need to deal with, but the bulk of them just need to show grace and let it be.
Yeah, kind of choosing your battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Any other thoughts or questions?
How do you deal with parents that are just passive? Like, they really don't care about the whole discipleship part. For them, it is really just a place to bring their kids. It's a lot to the kids, but not the parents.
That's a good question. I think that's where casting the vision and reminding them of the vision is really important. Sometimes you can feel like you're just saying words and they're just bouncing off of them.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Phil?
I totally agree with what you said. Like, that's why, for us, parent meetings are so important, because you can cast a vision every session, even just briefly. You can remind them of the vision, cast the vision. But the other thing is, what I would say is, invite those parents to come drive for an outreach, or to come help at practice extra or something. Like, try to get them involved, not as a way to like force them to be involved in something they don't want to do, but as an opportunity to experience some of the things that you're trying to accomplish on your team. I know that some of our parents, when we would get some of the parents in the past, when they would drive for outreach, that's when they started to actually understand the vision versus like knowing the vision. So that can be helpful.
I'll say, just put the time in. Yeah, those are the parents that you want to talk to practice. Like, we have a family very much drop off Okay, and at one time at training camp they hung around for a game, and I missed it. I didn't go over and talk to them. I didn't go over and engage them. And they're still very absent. So there's chances when they're around to go to make conversation, even if it's very casual, very flippant. But when you start putting time in, going to them and talking to them, honestly, listen to about your vision. So put some time in.
Yeah, that's good.
Something I was thinking about was just realizing that the parents are part of our team just as much as the kids are. You know, like with basketball or things like the kids on the team, the parents not. And you know, they have responsibilities, but you really don't. Nobody ever thinks that the parents is on the basketball team. With this kind of ministry, because we are an aid to the parents, they are a part of our team, and it's as important that we find ways to connect with them. I mean, obviously, I think our priority is the kids, but it's not like the parents don't matter. They're a high priority to connect with. If they don't have the vision, it's like we have to do, instead of 50, now we're doing 100% of the work, or whatever, you know, but we could be having that extra support.
Since we're not trying to be their parents, we're partnering with them.
Yeah, we don't want to do 100% take over.
And there always will be some parents that no matter how hard you try, no matter how well you communicate, no matter how many times you invite them to come to something, they're not going to, other than the requirements. And you can't, you just can't at that point.
Yeah.
Something to add to what Phil just said, I think we have to recognize that God is the only one who can change their hearts.
Yes.
Amen.
And in cases like that, you can't blame yourself, or you just have to accept that if God wants to change their heart, he will.
Yeah.
I have a question. What are some good ways to engage parents and build the relationship?
That's a good question. In case you guys didn't hear, what are some good ways to engage parents and build the relationship? For me, some things that have been helpful in my interactions with parents. Oftentimes, on our team, we're a little bit smaller, so I have to have an accountability partner. And one thing this past 2 sessions, I've been an accountability partner where I've gone to their house to have accountability and stuff, and I've been able to interact with the parents in a different setting than them just coming to practice. So that's been really helpful, and just seeing them in a different setting and getting to know them better, both the accountability partner and the parents. So that's been really helpful for me. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that. That would be probably my biggest thought. How do we engage or build relationships with parents?
Something that I've appreciated from other people, and I know you do this typically, but like in drama, we have the parents, or at least the moms, come and help us at practices. And I noticed that you used to be able to do this. You will thank them for coming, and I feel like that's just a very, very easy way to appreciate them and their time for coming.
Yeah, it shows you value that they're there. Yeah.
I know something we've done in the past is we ran a Christmas parade with our team. We had a float. One of the dads had a pickup truck, and hey, we could have pulled it with our van, but we included the team and asked them to come and so you interact with them more, just give you a chance to serve together.
Yeah, that's really cool.
One thing drama hasn't done recently, but we used to do a lot of, is during the session we often have socials for our team. But one thing that we've done in the past is not only have it for our team, but for our team's families as well, and for their parents. And like we said before, there are those parents that don't come to those things, but there are a lot of parents who do. They care about their kids' friends. And so when you open it up to the families and the parents come in, that is, a solid 2 hours in your evening where you can get around to all of the parents and at least have some conversations just to help further relationships with them. That has been really helpful for us in making sure relationships with the parents are important.
I like that. I'm writing all these down. These are really good. Something that was new for me when I came to the AIM team here is they have so many more jobs they can give to their parents. I didn't even know it. So we did a really bad job delegating it for last year because I didn't know they existed. But we have jobs one parent is in charge of washing all of the gloves, or one parent updates all of our makeup kits, or one parent is in charge of, I don't know, the snacks, and like there's, props and stuff, like restocking things. So we have all these different jobs. We could give as many jobs to the parents as we give to the members. And I thought that was so awesome that just reinforces like they're part of the team. And also it's an opportunity to talk them through not just how to do that job, but how important it is to accomplishing the mission and vision of our ministry. Even something feels as significant like the makeup, you can talk about the outreaches then and stuff but having an eye for those opportunities.
Like that, giving responsibilities to the parents so they feel connected. That's really good.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. We're over time here, so thank you guys for listening and being attentive. And we're going to go grab some lunch next.
Thank you.